Good morning, everybody, and thank you and welcome to our second AEP Tech Academy with a focus on financial services industry. I'm Raj Sharma. I'm the sales lead for our Adobe's data and insight solutions, so audience manager, target, and analytics. So we have a packed 90-minute agenda. We have an industry overview for 30 minutes from our product and marketing evangelist Mike Plimsoll, and then he's going to cover some use cases as part of his presentation, which we're then going to bring to life to show you some real life demos around how certain capabilities can help, such as customer journey analytics and things like real-time CDP. We have a team of experts who are monitoring our chat pod, so please make this session interactive as possible, and we will try to answer your questions during the 90 minutes. And yeah, let's enjoy. So, Mike, over to you.
Perfect, thank you, Raj. So, yeah, firstly, good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm really, pleased to be able to present to you guys on an overview of how we're helping customers. Hope everyone is staying safe and well. And yeah, if I maybe take a few minutes just to introduce myself. So, as Raj said, my name is Mike Plimsoll. I'm part of the product and industry marketing team, and so I'm responsible. Our team is responsible for how we go to market from an industry perspective, and I'm responsible for financial services. Hopefully many of you have met over the last couple of years. If not, looking forward to the days that we can do these things in person and have a chat in person. But yeah, my role involves looking at industry trends, best practices, case studies, looking at how Adobe is helping our customers across financial services, and then connecting people together to help deliver against that. So as Raj says, I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes or so just talking about the four things you can see here. So really setting the scene about what was going on before COVID-19. And the reason why I want to do this is actually everything that we saw in terms of trends before March this year are actually still the things that we need to be doing as organizations to deliver business value, albeit in a more accelerated fashion. I'm not going to spend too long on that, nor on the impact. I think we all understand that. I'm just going to position it from an Adobe perspective before talking about some of the key initiatives that I'm seeing globally from our customers around what they're doing to come out of the current lockdown situation and how they're shaping the new normal. So, as I said, what happened before. We'd spent a lot of time on research, and financial services is the largest industry for Adobe in EMEA. We drive more revenue than any other industry, such as retail, media, and entertainment, and as such, we do invest heavily in understanding the trends, challenges, and requirements of our financial service customers. And with e-consultancy, we've published our joint digital trends report 10 years in a row now. We also work with the likes of Forrester, Gartner, and Oven. So now, I'm going to draw on this research to briefly outline what was happening pre-COVID. And this is, as I said, important to understand as it shows the direction the industry was moving. So, digital was still driving consumers to evolve their demands and expectation, which had made customer experience the #1 priority for financial services. Digital transformation had created an empowered customer that was in the driver's seat. Customers were more informed than ever, increasingly mobile, expecting consistent services across every channel, not just individual channels, and loyalty was ebbing away. And as a result, there was increased pressure for new customer engagement models, greater transparency, and the ability to demonstrate business integrity. So delivering personalized, contextual, and connected experiences across banking and other financial service industries across all channels had become critical. As such, we saw what you see on screen here, and that customer experience was the #1 priority, with a specific focus on the tactical priorities of customer journey management, targeting and personalization, and customer data management. All of this meant that it had already become a priority to focus on these channels. And when you look year over year, the jump in importance from 2019 to 2020 for these 3 digital priorities is striking. These are significant increases. And in addition to that, 36% of financial service customers have already started to deliver real-time personalized experiences into their businesses, compared to just 27% in other sectors. So hopefully this shows just how important data-driven personalization and customer journey management had already become. So to summarize, what we saw as the top strategic response to counter any competitive threat or rising expectations was all aligned to improving experiences, launching new digital offerings, developing deeper customer insights, organization change, changing methods and technologies to ensure that you can deliver at speed and at scale. And all of this was going on pre-COVID. And then obviously there was the impact. And we all know what happened. In banking, we saw fee income fall from lower spending and waiving of fees. We saw net interest income, remain compressed as rates remained low and spikes and loans increased, were offset by credit losses. Most of our customers have been focused on the billions of euros and pounds in government-funded payment protection programs or coronavirus business interruption loans for small businesses, or the bounce back loan schemes, standing up these new initiatives. Many of these programs were rushed. The requirement from the government were given to the banks at the last minute, and some of these went live before we all had the chance or the ability to create stable processes. Over in the US, Bank of America received 85,000 requests from small businesses for $22.2 billion on their first day. We knew, for insurance, any company that covered business interruption policies, were facing an existential threat for risk, that they didn't necessarily underwrite, and remember how insurance industries make money by investing their premiums into the market, that are conservative and also tied to interest rate. And all of this saw, from a capital markets perspective, the VIX, the volatility index, the fear index, go over 80 for the first time. But we saw that impact. But what I want to really talk about is the fact that there is a human element and a human impact to this. We're all facing an increased amount of pressure, starting externally, to be there for our customers in those moments that matter, especially in disrupted physical channels that they were previously comfortable in. Additionally, we need to maintain business continuity and operate in a distributed fashion whilst being flooded with tens of thousands of inbound demands and inquiries from customers. In both cases, there's a disconnection professionally and socially that can be enabled by communication, technology, and more importantly, empathy. Let's not forget the challenges we face in our own personal lives. This, has impacted both our consumers and our employees. And overall, we've had to adjust how we frame our view of progress and success, as shown with this survey data. The points we used to make are no longer casual and aspirational, but urgent. Before the world was hit with a global pandemic, the majority of business was done in person, from closing deals to dining out to conferences and events. The digital experience, whilst important to the customer journey, was often a companion to that in-person experience, not the main event. We used to, speak aspirationally about targets like 70% digital use or 50% mobile adoption. But now, how are the other 30% of your customers engaging with you, if not digitally? With regards to sales, we used to talk about a third coming from digital, with lofty ambitions to get to 50% by 2025. How are you growing today, if not digital? And so we've had to reframe how we position, going from aspirational to urgent. And as consumers shift to mobile and web, which has been going on for a while, we always had to reconcile what to do with traditional channels. What to do with call centres, what to do with branches. What about brokers and agents and advisors? How do you reconcile all of these channels that exist that still drive a large majority of the revenue? We can't go out to customers and say, just use digital moving forward. We need to find the right balance. We had to figure out how all these channels came together. And because of this, we saw that the pace of technology advancement in the financial service sector had been accelerating rapidly. And this was pre-COVID, but not many companies had managed to keep up. According to PwC's 22nd annual CEO survey, a third of financial service executives regarded the speed of technology change as a top threat to their organization. A risk-averse mentality had prevented some companies from seeing the opportunity behind the initial challenges. Technology can put financial service companies in a better position to compete with new entrants, with new customer demands driven by the pandemic. But revamping legacy technology systems that are not readily interoperable requires organization-wide commitment. There also needs to introduce a customer-centric vision that goes beyond the immediate financial gains. And this has seen companies from all industries embrace digital transformation. And I'm sure you've all seen that joke on social media, who drove digital transformation in your organization? A, the CEO, B, CTO, or C, COVID-19. To stay relevant, to stay connected with consumers and stay, we've all had to adapt. And as Satya from Microsoft said, we've seen 2 years worth of transformation in as little as just 2 months. And so if we look at that transformation, we can see that it aligns with the top strategic priorities as told to us by the customers before. It's just more critical. These turbulent times have disrupted the lives of consumers and businesses alike, reinforcing the need for us to become even more customer-centric and experience-driven. We've all had to pivot. And the ability to pivot an enterprise to address a completely new set of customer needs requires a significant command of data, the ability to deliver highly personalized products, services, and experiences alongside digitally enabled service, sales, and marketing teams. This is all powered on cloud to ensure business agility. And this is an opportunity, and I'm cautious to use that word, but the same capabilities as that were required before are not only required now, but also to meet the future needs of long-term success. Our CEO, Shantanu, described a key pivot we at Adobe have taken and seen our customers make. We used to talk about how great digital experiences were meant to surprise and delight the customer, to be contextual and relevant and engaging. But now the digital experience needs to support critical activity and deliver the entire experience. And so at Adobe, our message forward is business resilience, the ability to pivot an enterprise to address a completely new set of customer demands while simultaneously planning for the future. These same capabilities, significant command of data, the ability to deliver highly personalized products, a digitally enabled service, sales and marketing functions, all powered by cloud infrastructure, are needed now, but also the formula to achieve long-term success. So, the pillars have been a bedrock for organizations to focus on and deliver quickly. We've seen some great examples from across the board. From a tactical perspective, some examples that we saw, and I won't spend too long on this, but, from a proactive communication and outreach, Lloyds were doing a great job from what I was seeing in communicating to customers across social media about fraud, how to identify fraud. DBS, a long-time customer of ours over in Singapore, had taken their branch customers and had pivoted them to delivering digital enablement for their customers over Zoom. So they were getting non-digital customers trained up on how to use online banking through Zoom and using their branch staff. We saw the likes of Nationwide have special branch hours, or so that the vulnerable or key workers could go in safely and securely in branch, shifting their bricks and mortar strategy to cater for their customer needs. And finally, Adobe ourselves, new ways of working. We completely pivoted our summit event in Las Vegas, going from a 25,000 in-person event in Las Vegas to over 500,000 people viewing digital content in just 3 weeks. Plan A was the in-person event in Las Vegas. We quickly said, oh, Plan B will get all of the speakers to come in and we'll record in a studio. That quickly went out the window to us having over 100 breakout sessions recorded from our customers' homes, and then broadcast, some instances live, in other instances recorded, as I said, engaging over 500,000 people globally, all done within just 3 weeks. But as we move out of this pandemic, we're all very focused on ensuring the digital behavior encouraged by COVID-19 does not revert back to pre-COVID time. But not just for customers, but also for staff. We're very focused on how to keep staff working productively, remotely, leveraging technology to do so, and working in agile ways. Almost every customer in financial services that I've spoken to has had budgets brought forward from future quarters to enhance customer-facing digital capabilities, to help maintain current digital adoption levels, 90% in some cases. But senior execs are also wanting to maintain higher than before workload and efficiencies of staff. Basically, they're trying to take advantage on immediate digital demands to fund more digital projects now. So where do we start? What are the key initiatives that will set you up for success? The 3 key areas, not just for the tactical responses, but for the medium and long term, are better understanding of your customer, proactive communication, and new ways of working. As I said, we're going to start with a deeper understanding of your customer. Your customers are living in a different world than they were just a few months ago. We all are. Nothing is business as usual. With so many people staying home, their needs and behaviors with your business have very likely changed. And your strategy needs to change with them. That's why it's more important than ever to understand their behaviors in real time. Many of you have customers who come through bricks and mortar branches, websites, apps, and call centers. This is where real-time data is even more essential. The more detailed and up to the minute your customer profile, the more you can understand which pages are seeing increased traffic, what apps would be most helpful, what are they buying, what are they not. And then you can provide content, products or services that are truly helpful, not only in the midst of the coronavirus, but as we move out of the pandemic towards the new normal. We already knew that this data-driven marketing focus on the individual was a key priority for financial services, more so than any other industry. And with these new capabilities, you're going to want to start to promote new features that you're developing. That budget that you're bringing forward to create new digital capability, you want to promote. But this needs to be done in a targeted and personalized way. For instance, when a customer of ours introduced a new mobile banking feature to allow remote check deposits, they went and identified specific customers who were continuously paying in checks in branch. And they then targeted that segment with the right message, explaining how they could do this digitally, the benefit of doing so, saving time, security. And so they were able to shift digital behavior. Some of the customers I've been speaking to, where we have seen a rise in digital adoption, means that you now know more of your customers than you did before. And so you can start to map that offline behavior to an online profile, so you can start to message them in the right way. And in many instances, this is going to include the reintroduction of acquisition. You know, many of us actually pulled acquisition activity when the pandemic hit, primarily down to empathy and sympathy for customers in troubling times. But as you move out, how can we bring back acquisition with the same empathy and sympathy? You know, it requires data. It requires a cross-channel unified view of the customer that allows you to deliver hyper-personalization, or personalization 2.0. We'd already seen this as a priority, with 36% of FSI customers making increases in their real-time personalized experience capability, far higher than any other industry. You know, doing this will allow you to target the right customer with the right message at the right time, as we always used to say. But now, more important, it will allow you to avoid targeting the wrong customer with the wrong message that will go against your brand's key objective of being sympathetic towards all customers in these challenging times. And that will require data and targeting across all channels, on and offline. Some customers I've spoken to have also raised concerns of increased churn due to mitigating circumstances. Some customers maybe did have a bad experience and are waiting for the opportunity to move on and leave. And this is where we need to offer more value-added services and messages, bring critical innovation to those in need. You know, again, by leveraging that deeper understanding of the customer, we can identify people who called the call centre and never got through. We can identify customers who had long waits or had to call multiple times. We can look at web pages they visited to do with account transfer. We can use all of this to feed propensity models to identify high propensity churn customers. With that insight, we turn back to proactive communications to highlight new features, new capability, new functionality. Just even push an outbound call to that person to show the support is, you know, we highlight the challenges, maybe even our own shortfalls in the past. We proactively make these outbound calls to them. And all of this with an aim to reduce churn. I was speaking with National Australia Bank about a couple of weeks ago about the need to reintroduce branches. You know, as businesses go back and small and medium-sized businesses need to start banking in branch again, how can you prioritize them over other customers who could engage digitally? How do you reserve physical channels for those who need them the most? Again, it comes down to data and understanding pain points, customer journeys that drive people to physical channels. I'm working with one UK high street bank that's looking at customers who go online and end up calling the call centre within 30 minutes of being online. And the hypothesis being that they are trying to self-serve those customers, but they couldn't manage it. By understanding these pain points, we can start to improve the journey, maintain people in digital channels, and free up physical channels for those who rely on them. When a customer does end up in a physical channel as well, we can use this unified view of the customer to enhance the conversation, making it shorter and more efficient. allowing more people to use these highly valued revenue generating channels. We've also seen a continued leveraging of technology to have one-to-one conversations at a distance. Now, as humans, we do crave connection, yet with so many of us isolated at home, we miss the sense of community we had with our workplace. Remote engagement combines multi-channel tools such as video and live sign for complex products to scale, but with one-to-one support. Complex products, mortgages, loans, etc. Insurance products. The future of one-to-one financial interactions between a banker, agent, or advisor could be more remote. Our customers had already been trying to scale video interaction versus expansion of more expensive physical location. And the example that you see here is an example of a loan specialist walking a customer through a mortgage application all the way through to electronic signature. This is not only good for the customer, but it helps to ensure the safety of your employees too, which has to be one of our top priorities. At Adobe, we used the Customer Activity Hub, which is part of the Adobe Experience Platform, to bring together a view of the customer, this unified profile that allowed us to look up customers, to deliver rich insights to the sales team, the call center team, to be able to understand where customers were, to update profiles. And all of this was so that we could better serve the customer. I know later in the demo, you'll see examples of how call center deflection and real-time personalization can be delivered. So hopefully this sets the scene for that. But again, with that foundation of data, we need to build on driving and maintaining digital adoption. So we need to move from some of the short-term tactical solutions to long-term strategic initiatives. For instance, over the past 10 weeks or so, TSB has released 18 forms online, designed in Adobe XD, and processed over 80,000 online interactions with Adobe Sign, which could otherwise have equated to as many as 15,000 in-branch face-to-face visits. What we need to do now is make this a long-term initiative that delivers 100% digitized application experiences for all products and services. We need to introduce new digital services and capabilities. To maintain that digital adoption and self-service, we need mobile capability. We need AI capabilities. All of these need to be designed to replicate the physical experience, but in a digital, more scalable way. And what about those physical locations? What are we doing with these? And this is where we start to shift from also, looking at the consumer experience, but also our employee experience. The rise of employee-less robo branches we saw before the pandemic hit, to allow customers to book appointments, to leverage technology in branch, where they use their cards to swipe to get access, to enter, and then to have that video call. Not all customers have the technology at home. How do you fill your branch with that technology to enable more digital interactions, even in a physical location? Actually, on the left, this is an example of Bank of America, and this is in Minneapolis, their employee-less branch. This was over a year ago. And keeping on the theme of employees, what about call centers? How do we keep our call center staff safe moving forward, whilst also protecting against and securing consumer data? These guys used to work side by side, but now work at a distance, often from their own homes. One South Korean bank instituted a platoon system for its nearly 450 call center employees, allowing 150 staff members to work from home at a time. They used voice over internet protocols and laptops equipped with company software in these employees' homes. Employees working from home handled only new customer inquiries and generic queries to avoid compromising sensitive customer information. Calls that required access to customer information were forwarded to on-premise call centres, where workspaces were altered and partition walls were heightened to increase space. I had to renew my insurance for my pet and during the pandemic, and the call centre agent at my insurer let me know that he was sat in his kitchen. So we're certainly seeing a shift that will potentially maintain, because it's dramatic. The pandemic has dramatically changed how so many of us work. And these changes might not be temporary. A lot of experts believe this crisis will be a catalyst for completely rethinking how we do business. It's been a huge challenge for many businesses, but it's also opened up a lot of opportunities and will continue to do so. As mentioned before, we're all very focused on ensuring that digital behaviour encouraged by COVID-19 does not revert back to a pre-COVID time. And this is especially true for our own staff and employees. We need to be focused on how to keep staff working productively, remotely, leveraging technology to do so and working in agile ways. This has seen conversations with some customers about hub and spoke models start to appear. How can you maintain remote working for part of the week and allow staff to enter the office safely? We've spoken about agile and new agile marketing teams to allow speed and agility of change. And so we're seeing an organizational shift, new ways of working that are remote. So centers of excellence that drive digital adoption. Seamless experiences, so journey managers working in an agile digital marketing way, where they're part of scrums and tribes that work remotely and virtually, but come together in person in offices when safe to do so, but on a limited basis. Plans, from what I'm hearing, will be, to only allow staff in 1 or 2 days a week maximum, and only when entirely necessary to work as part of an in-person team. Obviously, some roles require to be in person more than others, and so it is a balance. And so I'm going to conclude with, it's all about experiences. It always has been. Consumer expectations have changed, and they're always changing. They're always requiring better experiences than ever. And this has never been more true than today. And we know that being an experience-driven business is good for business. These stats from a piece of research we did with Forrester before the pandemic. But what we can see for financial services, that those that were focused on experience deliver better bottom line growth, higher revenue growth, better customer satisfaction. And so I'm going to leave you with these 4 key lessons. Real-time customer insights are more essential than ever. Remember that behaviours have changed from a few months ago, and real-time data is more important than ever. Ask yourself if you have the infrastructure in place to gain these insights, and if not, look at investing in one. Use your data and all the sales teams to identify new behaviours, challenges and opportunities, focusing on new ways to add value. Second, agility is key when pivoting. Your communications is key during a pandemic. Increase your agility to pivot messaging with a robust digital foundation. Be authentic, helpful, relevant. Third, think digital first by making the digital experience the main event, not an add-on. Invest in digital tools that will ease the transition to new ways of working, and consider how your content will be consumed in times of remote working and more distraction. And finally, look at how your business is set up and if it's agile enough for this new reality. Explore new sources of revenue and re-examine your supply chain tactics. And just finally, we're not going back. This is the time to accelerate digital adoption. Be prepared for this to be our new normal. And if you haven't already, start your digital transformation. And on that, I'd just like to say thank you. I've overrun a little bit. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Look forward to the conversations. But Andy, I'm going to hand over to you now to bring some of this to life.
Great. Okay. So thanks very much for Mike to Mike for giving us some excellent contextual insight on what's happening in financial services industry right now. Just going to take the next 45 minutes to run you through a couple of the use cases that we're seeing based specifically on financial services utilized using Adobe Experience Platform. Quick reminder that this builds on what we've already done as the Tech Academy, the Foundation Tech Academy. So some of the concepts I won't spend too long on, but if you need a refresher or if these things are new to you or if you want to know any more information in general, please do go to adobe.io up here and just find your way to the Experience Platform section. Feel free to post a question in the chat, obviously, but if you've got more extensive questions, adobe.io and the Experience Platform is an amazing resource for obviously platform overview, extensive documentation, even tutorials, and an extensive API reference if you really want to go that deep. So yeah, anything you see today or anything that's piques your interest that you think I want to know a bit more about and take a bit longer to explore, that is your resource for sure. But like I said, today I'm just going to run you through a couple of use cases that we're seeing that are particularly pertinent to the financial services sector. First being customer journey analytics on platform. So what is customer journey analytics on platform? So to create and connect multi-channel data seamlessly. So you as a business can seek to remove friction and, as I said, irrelevancy from the customer conversion process. So basically, what we're looking to do now here is actually use multi-channel data to find out where people are struggling, where you could improve your user experience, and where personalization could work for you. The three cornerstones of customer journey analytics really are the rapid time to value that it provides. I'll show you in the very quick demonstration I'll do today just how relatively easy it is to bring, once you've got data on platform, to bring it all together in the CJA, customer journey analytics, in user interface. To get, as they said there, the omni-channel insight generation that it's designed for. So really, once, as you'll see during the demonstration, once you have the data connected and organized as you wish, you're then free to explore with fluidity and answer the questions that you've been wanting to get from omni-channel data that resides in your business. And one of the most important things here is that it's relatively easy for people who don't even have data analyst in their job title or job description. I'll show you how it is built on the analysis workspace, which already is the backbone of Adobe Analytics, the user interface to Adobe Analytics. And if you know Adobe Analytics, you know just how straightforward it is to get started and create very visual workflows and dashboards. And customer journey analytics is no different from that respect. So that's all coming up very shortly. Just very quickly run you through what you're about to see in terms of an architecture. So if you think of the fact that your business is collecting data from a range of different sources, be it a call center, maybe from an SDK of some sort, enterprise data sources, or even an ETL ecosystem. You may, and this bit is optional, but you may already be using the Adobe Analytics Cloud to ingest that data and doing all the stuff you do in there, the good stuff you do in there. Like I said, that is not obligatory, but we do find that a lot of our customers who are interested in the Experience Platform obviously have already made investments in the Analytics Cloud. That Adobe Analytics data is available to you on the Experience Platform. We take care of micro batching that in for you. You can, of course, collect data directly to AEP, and I'll be showing you that in the second demonstration very shortly. And once inside AEP, the Adobe Experience Platform, as I said, there's a range of different facilities available for you, but I'm going to show you today is the Customer Journey Analytics, which is by simple data connection out of AEP. We connect to a very powerful user interface, tried and tested user interface, in fact, that we've been using for years now with Adobe Analytics, and we've kept improving and improving on all the time. And that's it. It's as simple as that, really, in terms of what you're about to see. So one more thing to say is that we're currently developing, you won't see it today, I won't show it today, but we're currently developing the facility to transfer audiences back from Customer Journey Analytics into the Experience Platform, and that'll be that's been actively worked on as part of the roadmap. So without further ado, I'm just going to transfer back away from the slides and back into the browser. And as I said, let's just pick up where we left off very briefly with a quick look at where the data sets in the Experience Platform reside. So those of you who are on the foundation call, the Tech Academy Foundation call, will know all about this. So I'm in the Adobe Experience Platform user interface, and I'm just checking that my data sets have been ingested correctly and what I've got in there. And you can see here that we've got, for example, lots of website data, as you might imagine. One of these data sets that we'll be using as during this demo is this website interaction data set. And here in the Experience Platform user interface, I get the overview of how big this data set is, how many records have been ingested recently, any failed batches, etc., etc. I also get a really useful direct link to the schema that's involved. And again, those of you who did the foundation of First Tech Academy will know all about schemas. Schema is just a data model. So you can see here the schema that we're using, its class. And then you can see here how our identifiers are being collected in this schema. So yes, when you think schema, just think data model. When you hear schema, just think data model. So that's all well and good, and we're going to use this data set in combination with a data set from the call center, which we've been taking in as well. And you can see here there's the call center data set as well, and its overall activity and the schema used there. So as I said, we've got two data sets, at least two different data sets in the Adobe Experience Platform. Now we could of course run a series of SQL queries, and again we showed this during the last foundation. Could run a series of SQL queries. It's going to join those data sets and query them together and do some cross analysis, or we could even use a BI tool, of course, as well, like directly connected to platform, and there's a lot of value in that for sure, we think. But what I'm about to show you now, in CJA, is we think more valuable potentially than the BI experience, just because of the breadth it gives, and also the ability for non-analysts or traditional non-analysts to use this. Okay, just a couple of steps that you need to do first before you can get on to creating projects and visualizations. And the first is a connection. So what a connection is simply, if you go and think back to that very simple architecture that I showed, the connection between CJA and Experience Platform is that CJA here is just going to ask the Experience Platform for the data that it needs. It's as simple as that. And to do this, I'm just going to run you through this create new connection workflow, as you see here. So what we're going to do is just by referencing our website interactions data set that I showed, I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to add that to the canvas, and you can see it comes up there with confirmation of the schema, where you have a link to it if you need to just remind yourself of what the data model is on that set, which is great. And then the other one we were going to use was, excuse me, was the call center data set. There it is. Okay, great. I'm going to add that as well. Okay, so we've got at least 2 data sets here, obviously, to make a connection with. And then the thing here we're going to do here, configuration, is on the ID level. Now, the key thing about using obviously more than one data set is that we're going to look for a join in terms of an identity. Okay, and we call this the person ID here. So what we're looking for now is, or what we're thinking about configuring, is a common identity across both of these data sets, right? So that when it gets into the project workspace and I'm analyzing it, what we refer to as a person is literally the same value across these data sets. You can have more than 2, by the way, you can have as many as you like, but there has to be a common value, okay, which is going to represent the person ID here. And you can see here, as these data sets come in, you're offered a range of a range of IDs accordingly. So these data sets, based on their schema, I've got a range of IDs that they'll be using. Mobile number, obviously, for call center, and maybe email address as well. And then if I go back to my website interaction, obviously it's got a form to fill in as well as the Experience Cloud ID. So I'm going to be presented with at least 2 IDs there. And in fact, I've got a lot to choose from, and I've got email ID as well there. So I've got now a commonality between the identities across these data sets, which I'm going to use to effectively create a person ID for this connection. Now, you may at this point just have a quick question about why can't we use the identity service that already exists on platform? When we, why do we have to create a person ID for each connection? So that is actually going to be coming later this year. That's something on our roadmap, so that CJA can automatically use, if you choose to do it, the identity service that's already been kind of created around the profile in platform. But for now, it's that easy simply to create a connection and create, as I said, the relative person ID here as well. And then the enablement section in step 2 just simply reminds you that you've got 2 data sets in there, and it also is going to ask me 2 important things if I want to automatically import new data. So if these data sets are updated with new data, would this connection in CJA like to import that? Now, you may not want to do that because, of course, you may wish to just do historical analysis and you may not want new data coming in, so it's good to have that option. And another really important thing here is going to ask me if I want to import all the historical data that is associated with this data set. And again, that's a really good option to have as well. And if you tick that, obviously it'll import everything that's in there, and it even gives you the amount that will bring in too. Okay. So that's it in terms of connection. That's all literally all I'd have to do. Obviously done this up front, so we're not going to have to wait for the whole process to run. But those are your options in terms of creating connections. It's important to state you can create as many connections as you need. So these are typically things you do to manage, as I said, the pairs or more of data that are coming from Experience Platform that you want to bring into Customer Journey Analytics, the underlying data here. Okay, so that's step 1 in terms of getting the data in, and that's obviously the core data connection. Step 2 is the data view of that connection. So what I'll do, and again, I'll just use something I've already done rather than go through it from the start. So step 2 is simply the data view. Now, if any of you know virtual report suites in Adobe Analytics, this is kind of similar. What you're doing here is just simply taking the data, the raw data, if you like, that's in the connection, and simply just confirming the kind of view of the data that you want. There are a couple of really important things I just want to call out here. the options that you have. The first is the session timeout options. This is pretty crucial. So using the underlying data that's in those sets that we just created in the connection, you can, for this data view, have a complete control over what a session means, right? So a session variable, when we get to do the reporting and analysis, is obviously pretty important, because how we count a session or what a session was can mean a lot of different things. So you can completely vary that session timeout. By default, as you all know, in Adobe Analytics, that's set to 30 minutes. But if you're working across multiple data sets, you may want to vary that. You may want to make that quicker or shorter. You can even specify that a visit starts with a particular event, okay? And that could be particularly important for mobile data sets or data sets that are not associated with traditional website data. The other thing you then do is define how you want your components to look. And just because you've created a connection, it doesn't, we don't assume that you're going to want to see all of the data in that connection. It might be a bit overwhelming, of course. So here's a way to just simply say, no, I only need a specific set of components and I only want them displayed accordingly. So this is really useful for basically filtering the connection so that end users and data analysts don't have to battle through all the different data that's in those connections. They just get the data that they need. Crucially here as well, the last thing to say about this is that crucially we have something called attribution settings. Now, attribution settings, again, these are completely non-destructive, so you're not altering the underlying data set at all. This is simply a attribution setting for this data view per component or per data dimension. So this can be extremely useful as well. So if you imagine some of those data dimensions that are coming through from the website and the call center data, you may want to attribute that slightly differently per dimension. And this will obviously alter the way that the data may behave when we get onto the project, but in really crucial ways. So this is extremely useful because this means you can be extremely fluid and create multiple data views based on the connections you've got coming from AEP, and you can get the best or the most suitable attribution setting that you desire without having to write any SQL or without having to go and partition or join the underlying data at all. You can do this all within the data view stage here in Customer Journey Analytics. So we think this is a pretty big deal. Okay, so that's the data view section. And once you've got your connection and then data view in place, that is it. You then move on to projects and analysis, which I'll do just in a few seconds. One more thing to say about this, obviously, you might be thinking, okay, do I have to do that every time? Absolutely not. Obviously, once you've created a connection or your connections, once you've created your data views, they're there forever. So we see this as a very much like a kind of one and done process. You may obviously have to do a bit of work up front, well, but only once. And then after that, it's quite iterative. So only when somebody would request a new connection or data view do they have to go and create that. So there's a lot of value to be gained after the initial connection and data view stage. And that value really comes from the project stage. Okay, so now you're into kind of the world of Analysis Workspace. And as those of you who know Analysis Workspace will know this intimately, right? So if you think about that, if you think about what I've just done, and I tell you that I'm now going to give you Analysis Workspace as the user interface on top of that data views, those data views, that will make complete sense to you. Okay, if you don't know Analysis Workspace, let me just open this up very briefly. There's not going to be an Analysis Workspace demo for sure. There's far too little time for that. But if you don't know Analysis Workspace, it's Adobe Analytics user interface workspace for visually curating dashboards and reports and all sort of visualizations to get the analysis you want out of the project you need. Okay, so You have access to all the data dimensions that we defined down the left, the metrics, which can include calculated metrics, of course, the filters, which act like segments. So filters are relative things here. You may want to filter by country, for example. And then, of course, date ranges as well. So this was looking very familiar to some of you right now. This is just the standard example that I chose for today's session, and this is just proving, that something that, to be honest, was until now we found pretty difficult to achieve for our customers, and this is the customer journey flow from a website interaction through to the call center. This is what you're looking at now. Simple, pretty simple though it may look. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just using the flow visualization in Analysis Workspace to simply say, okay, well, I recognize that some people reach the cancel service stage of my website, or maybe even the contact page. This could be for some of you. Now, if they reach here, that's not a good sign, because as we all know, calling the call center costs money per se, and certainly cancelling the service is lost revenue in terms of that customer as well. So neither of those we want to be happening. So how can we better analyze things to make people either call the call center less, or obviously encourage them to stay with us? Okay, so you can see obviously where they've come from beforehand. That's pretty straightforward. So they went, they found the cancel service page via a particular page on the website. But here's the really important thing. Because obviously we've now joined this data connection by using the same person identifier, we can now go straight through to the call center and look directly at how the same person who was viewing the cancel service page on the website then created a support contact ticket in the call center. Because remember, this is two different data sets we're looking at here, but visually we're now looking at the same flow. Okay, it was that straightforward to do. So this solves for a range of different use cases for analysis purposes, simply because we've now joined these data sets at the person ID level, and that's why it was so important. Okay, and that's why I took a fair amount of time to explain what that was actually doing. Okay, so this on the right of the cancel service block is representing the call center interaction events that occurred, but of course, as I said, at the same person ID level. And then we also registered the call center dataset also had a data dimension which represented how that call went, whether it was negative or positive. And you can see as just a very simple example how we can break that down in terms of the flow that goes through. So I mean, that is an extremely simple visualization, and obviously you can go on and on with flow visualizations in Adobe Analysis Workspace. So you could do a lot more with this as well, and you could do a lot more analysis based on this. But this is an example of how doing the connection and data view work upfront will then lead you to the relatively easy task of doing the analysis on how people are transitioning from a website to the call center and how you can potentially mitigate that and service people better. It's very easy. Just one thing I'll show before I move on to the second use case, because as I said, we haven't got a great deal of time today, just how easy it is to actually use this. Okay, so once you're in, I can't stress this highly enough, once you're in and you've got your data organized, it's just like using Analysis Workspace, which is extremely intuitive. So intuitive in the fact that I can do something like this, like quick insights. Okay, the quick insights based on that call feeling was. Right? So call feeling, I'll bring this in, and I'm going to bring in, make sure it comes in for the last 6 full months. I know that's the amount of data I'm looking at, and again, I'm going to look at the number of sessions. And then that's just going to spin for a few seconds. And then immediately you can see they have created a freeform table breaking down the call feeling over that time, how the call center is performing. And again, I can very, very quickly say, well, a bar chart's not particularly intuitive. I think a donut is going to look better on that. Okay, so that's the kind of thing you can do super quickly now. You just work in Analysis Workspace with the data that we've created, and you can do all sorts of different things now. You can obviously trend to see how the negative calls were going, because that's not something we want to, that's obviously something we want to keep an eye on. And you can now create, these quick insight dashboards very quickly and easily, and then obviously go on and do all kinds of, sharing with this as well. So you can create your own visualizations and share these out within the organization. So that's how easy it is to do and how easy it is to work with now, Analysis Workspace within CJA, based on the data that's got in the Experience platform. So I hope that was useful. That is a very brief introduction to CJA, but it's something, as I said, we're really excited about, to offer this potential to analyze multiple data sets now, but using a joined person identity. Right. Okay, so the second use case we're going to focus on today is going to be leave customer journey analytics. And now, a quick reminder of what we just saw there. If you're Adobe Analytics customer, it's already, you're collecting data, obviously. You can have that into Experience Platform if you like. You can also collect data directly onto Experience Platform. Customer Journey Analytics creates a data connection and a data view of that data. You're free to analyze that as you wish. And as I said, we're working on a facility where you're going to be able to create audiences within Customer Journey Analytics and then use those segments in Adobe Experience Platform, which leads me nicely onto segmentation and streaming segmentation, in particular in AEP, Adobe Experience Platform. So what I'm going to run through very, very quickly is a use case based on the insurance industry, actually, but based on something we call streaming segmentation on platform. So very, very quickly, what's happening here, as I go through this demo, you're going to be able to see incoming data into the Experience Platform. Obviously, that data has at least one form of identity, so we're resolving that identity on Experience Platform. We're either updating or creating a profile in real time based on a data schema, a data model on the Experience Platform. And then we have the ability to create segmentation based on the data about that profile that's been collected at that profile level. We're then going to be piping that down, streaming that down to what we call real-time customer data platform destinations. And the example I'll show today is our own Adobe Target, which obviously, as you'd expect, has the streaming segmentation capability from platform. But you could use this in a variety of different use cases. Okay, we're already looking at how we can use this across Adobe and non-Adobe solutions. Looks something like this in terms of a very basic diagram for streaming segmentation. If you think about data coming into Experience Platform, that's the A circle there. You may also be augmenting that with other sources of data in B, and that's all going into the real-time customer profile. What I'll show today, as well as an addition, is a really exciting piece of work we've got now in Data Science Workspace. I'll show you how we can create real-time machine learning decisions based on streaming data as well. And then based on those real-time machine learning decisions and scorings, we can segment off of those, which is the AEP segment sharing facility you see in the middle there, and then output that to, in this demo, Adobe Target, but it could be many other use cases besides that, to change the customer experience back on the customer website or mobile application. Okay, so pretty straightforward, and let's have a look at that in action. So we'll go back to the my site. I'm going to take you through the demo now. So all I've got here is a very simple website. This is called Luma Insurance now. The Luma Insurance, as you can see, offers many different insurance products, such as car, household, travel insurance, and an opportunity to get a car insurance quote. I'm a completely brand new visitor. This is based, by the way, on a completely anonymous browsing use case. So this is the very first time I've been to the website. Our X-ray panel on the left tells me that. All I have now is an Experience Cloud ID, which is a cookie ID, right? So a bare bones profile has just been created in the Experience platform by the fact I visited the homepage, right, of this website, and that is it. That's the only event data that's gone into this profile at this stage. If I go and have a look at the car insurance section, because that's what I'm interested in, of course, we might be able to see that the experience event updates and just shows a very basic browse activity history. So there's my car insurance activity going on the desktop as a channel of choice. This Sensei Services piece is the machine learning I talked about there, where we're going to evaluate machine learning, score this person in real time for their propensity to buy car insurance. Obviously, we haven't had many data touch points yet, or not enough to do that yet, but we will do soon, because what I'm going to do now, inspired by this wonderful picture of mountains whilst driving, I'm going to go and get a car insurance quote. Okay, so all these fields, so this is a pretty typical example. Someone doesn't have to log in necessarily to buy this, to even get a quote. So what they've got here is obviously a number of different fields. Luma Insurance, they've got an age bracket, they've got a city where I live. I'll just quickly update that, and quickly update a few other details here. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sure this is all looking pretty familiar to all of us. I'm sure we've all had to buy car insurance. I wish I drove a BMW, and I'll just get my quote, which is exactly that. Okay, so now I've got my quote. So now we've fed, happening in the background there, we've fed real-time data into the Adobe Experience platform using the data collection facility, which has included all of that data in the car insurance quote as well. Now, typically in real life, for many insurance companies and some of financial companies as well, selling financial products, that can be it. Someone remains anonymous. They don't necessarily have to be a customer, and so that can be as much as you're gonna get from them. So how can we help you improve your service to this customer by giving you a machine learning facility that can score in real time their propensity to actually buy that car insurance based on the fact they only got one simple quote. Okay, so let's just go back to the home page quickly, and you see that there's the personalization in action. So now I've personalized the home page with a very straightforward image swap out. And how does that actually happen? So this is one example of how I can take action. Let's talk through what's actually just gone on. Okay, so you can see in my real-time customer profile, I'm still just using that one cookie ID. I've been bucketed into a new segment straight away. So car insurance sales propensity 60 to 80 is a new segment I've been bucketed into. Obviously, I wasn't in there when I visited the website. My experience events are the same as with my browse history, and my car insurance quote is updated there. And then my Sensei Services tells me that I've got a car insurance sales prediction of 69. That's a 0 to 100 measure. Okay, so that's my score for how likely I am to actually take out this product based on the data I gave. So let's jump back into the experience platform just to show what's going on in the background there. Okay, so if we flip back, go into a slightly different section of the experience platform. I'm going to take you through, briefly going to take you through the insurance propensity model that we've created, okay, and how we train and score that. So how do we create that 69 score that gave me a propensity to buy that car insurance based on the data I inputted? So here I am in the Jupyter Labs environment on platform. As again, those of you who saw the foundation course that we did, the Foundation Tech Academy that we did a few weeks ago, will be familiar with this. Those not familiar, that again, encourage you to go and check this out on IO. There's a lot of information about this. And we're creating a training data loader file here, as you can see, and all that's simply doing is, again, this is obviously will be standard stuff for those of you with data science skills or people in your organization with data science skills. we're just reading the kind of information that we brought in based on that form, right? And we're going to just probably do some transformations on that, make sure it's okay. And then we're going to implement the load file to actually prepare the scoring data. So simply reading those form fields, those data fields, to actually make a score based on obviously all the data that we're collecting and how likely someone was to buy that insurance based on those data inputs. We're going to implement the training function. So you can see here, if I've already been through this, but if I actually went and trained this model, this is what would happen. And then we're going to score and return a prediction made on the scoring data. That's fairly straightforward stuff that's going on here. Do some splitting at the end, and then finally actually writing that, as you can see here, to crucially the profile on the experience platform. So you can see here, I know there's a very technical readout going on here, but this is literally the experience platform ID, or the the experience cloud ID, the cookie ID here, and the associated score that's going on there. The most important thing here is this is available in real time. So when I inputted that data into that form, all I needed was one ID, and the experience platform was able to offer a sales prediction score in real time, because I'd already trained and scored this model, right? In the models, you can see here, this is where my model resides, my car insurance propensity model. I can train it, I can do a training run, and I did a score as well. I can do a scoring run as well. In this section, you can even tune your configuration parameters should you require that. Again, I'm not going to anywhere near the depth, that a data science scientists would for this, but just giving you an overview of what is available. And again, the important bit here to remember is that this is now available at the profile level, because I created that segment off the back of that. So you can see that machine learning score populated itself or bubbled up to create my car insurance sales propensity segment, which I could do via the segment UI in Experience Platform. Very straightforward to do that. Okay, so that segment is there waiting to then capture anybody who registers a score between 60 and 80, right? So that segment is then waiting for someone. Because it's a streaming segment, it's available, as I said, to Adobe Target amongst other solutions in the Adobe Experience Cloud suite. And I've got something here, my get quote Luma Insurance activity, already in setup, very simple activity setup, to just to put people into these different buckets and give them different experiences, differentiated experiences. Those of you who are seeing Adobe Target demos obviously don't need to see how simple it is to set up one of these. So you simply create a segment that's coming through. We simply select the segment that's coming through from Experience Platform, and you simply create your experience to match that, which is exactly what we did and what we saw during the demonstration. Then once that's done, as I said, Adobe Target, when I go back to the home page, as you saw, kicked in and registered that I was part of that segment, differentiated the experience for me, and that obviously could hopefully lead to a better customer experience, and obviously hopefully lead to a better chance of you servicing that person for an insurance quote. Typically as well, obviously, this could be really useful, or could get very, very powerful if obviously you have a facility to log in or register someone. So if you're able to upload even more data around someone, profile data around someone, you could obviously use that as part of the model as well. And because the fact that streaming segmentation is available in multiple channels as well as just Adobe Target, personalize the website, you could integrate this into, for example, the call center experience, or of course create a differentiated outbound message to this person. So you follow up either with an SMS or an email as an outbound message to make sure that person is treated accordingly based on the likelihood they are to actually buy that car insurance product. in this demonstration. So that is fairly powerful stuff. And just as a reminder of what we just saw, just take you through that one last time. One of the huge benefits of doing that, as I said, collecting streaming data from a website in step A there into the Adobe Experience platform, potentially augmenting that with other sources of enterprise data using the real-time customer profile and the identity facility to match all that data to create a customer profile, using the data science workspace and machine learning in data science to create a score, a trained model to score that person in real time, so that when more data comes in, that customer profile can be given a score in real time. A segment can be created, or segmentation can be created based on that score, and then it is pushed out in step 2 to solutions like Adobe Target to do website personalization. Critical thing here being that you saw the data, potentially you've got data scientists working on those models. They are models that sit at the heart of the Experience platform and can create a real-time response in terms of a score to the customer profile. There is no batching between systems going on here. Once the model is trained, and scored, it is then ready to be published, and that will then score things in real time. So the data science work that you can do can really directly affect the end user experience without having to go through quite often tedious processes of batching data around different systems, because it is all being done from the Experience platform itself, and then streaming segmentation takes care of the rest. So I hope that's been of interest. I know that was a very quick overview demonstration of what is a lot of technology, but obviously we wanted to keep things pretty fluid today. Many more questions, I'm sure, some of which came in the chat whilst I've been talking. We're going to take 5 minutes or so now at the end of this session just to maybe discuss a few of those questions. And then if you've got more questions, like I said, I really do encourage you to visit adobe.io or keep in touch with us if you are already in touch with us. We really welcome your feedback on today's session, and thank you very much for your participation.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you very much for those demonstrations. Great, and thank you to Mike for his industry overview earlier. I hope all of you found the session useful, and thank you very much again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.